वाहिगुरु वाहिगुरु भगवती जी की पातशाही 10वीं प्रथम भगवती सिमर के गुरु नानक ले ध्याए अंगद गुरु ते अमरदास रामदास ते होई सहाय अर्जन हर गोबिंद नो सिमरो श्री हर राय श्री हर कृष्ण ध्याई है जिस डिठे सब दुख जाए तेग बहादुर सिमरिए कर नौने दावे ताए 10वें पातशाह श्री गुरु गोबिंद सिंह महाराज ਪੰਥ ਦੇ ਵਾਲੀ ਸਭ ਥਾਈਂ ਹੋਏ ਜੀ ਸਹਾਇ ਦਸਾਂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਜੋਤ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਪਾਠ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਦੀਦਾਰ ਦਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਧਰ ਕੇ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਇਹ ਨਿਮਾਣਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਮਾਣ ਨਿਤਾਣਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਤਾਣ ਨਿਓਟਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਓਟ ਨਿਆਸਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਆਸਰੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਕਰਨ ਪਿਤਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀਓ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਹਜ਼ੂਰ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਜੋਦੜੀ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਹੈ ਦਤਾਰ ਪਿਤਾ ਜੀਓ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਅਪਾਰ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਮਿਹਰ ਦਾ ਸਦਕਾ ਸਾਈਬਰ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੁੜੀ ਹੈ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗਿਆਂ ਦਤਾਰ ਪਿਤਾ ਜੀ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਮਿਹਰ ਭਰਿਆ ਹੱਥ ਰੱਖ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਵਿਚਾਰਨਾ ਆਪ ਕਰਵਾਣੀ ਅੱਖਰ ਵਾਧਾ ਘਾਟਾ ਭੁੱਲ ਚੁੱਕ ਮਾਫ ਕਰਨੀ ਸਰਬੱਤ ਦੇ ਕਾਰਜ ਰਾਸ ਕਰਨੇ ਸਹੀ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਮੇਲਣੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਮਿਲੇ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਚਿਤਾਵੇ ਨਾਨਕ ਨਾਮ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਤੇਰੇ ਭਾਣੇ
ਸਰਬੱਤ ਦਾ ਭਲਾ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
Haji Wajji Khalsa Wajji Fatehji, Ravinder Singh from Columbus connecting with you for another session of Khoj Gurbani. A happy new year to all of those of you who have joined for the first time. Asi Pishli Wari, we began on the 21st Pauri of Japji Sahib, and we kind of covered the first 4 lines. I think we were all of the view that this Pauri has it's certainly 2, if not more, different strands of thought, which is not uncommon in Gurbani, and that the first 4 lines were actually talking about a pilgrimage and what a true pilgrimage might mean. Before we get on, since we have a forum that consists of people who were not here the last time, I think what we might want to do is actually sort of revisit and reframe the Pauri and then proceed from there. So with that, I would ask somebody to volunteer to read out the entire Pauri first. Do we have a volunteer? Will someone volunteer to read the 21st Pauri?
I can do.
Haji, please do.
The whole Pauri, you mean?
Haji, just read it out once aloud so that थोड़ी जी बिरती गागर हो जाए.
ठीक है जी, here we go. तीरथ तप दया दत्त दान जे को पावै तिल का मान सुनिया मन्निया मन कीता भाव अंतरगत तीरथ मल नाव सब गुण तेरे मैं नाही कोय विण गुण कीते भगत ना होए स्वस्थ आउत बाणी ब्रह्माओ सत सुहान सदा मन चाओ कवन सुवेला वक्त कवन कवन थित कवन वार कवन से रुति माह कवन जित हुआ आकार वेल ना पाइया पंडिती जे होवै लेख पुराण वक्त ना पायो कादियां जे लिखन लेख पुराण थित वार ना जोगी जानै रुत माह ना कोई जा करता सिर ठीकौ साजे आपे जानै सोई किव करे आखां किव सालाही क्यों वरनी किव जाना नानक आखन सबको आखै एक दू एक सियाणा वड्डा साहिब वड्डी नाई कीता जा का होवै नानक जे को आपो जानै अगे गया ना सो है. हाँ जी.
Thank you, ji. Thank you very much. Let's come back to the beginning of the Pauri. As I said earlier, we sort of generally agreed the last time that the first 4 lines or so we're talking about Tirath, a pilgrimage, and we had a little bit of discussion around it, and perhaps it might benefit to start from there again. And so just to frame the context, I think we spoke about a pilgrimage having a couple of dimensions to it historically. If you think about a pilgrimage on the outside, it involves travel, and the goal is some sort of transformation that must happen. So it is, you're journeying to a spot that that will hopefully be transformational for you. And yet we are also encountering here Guru Nanak's take on pilgrimages, where he is reminding us that the pilgrimage on the outside is perhaps no more than a metaphor for a spiritual life. That the spot, the sacred spot that we should travel to, lies within. So I would open up the forum just with this context in mind. So we are talking about travel, and we are talking about transformation, to think in terms of a pilgrimage. So I want to open up the forum and get your thoughts on this this metaphor that Guru Nanak is referring to. Jaswant Singh Virji, do you want to start, take the lead and begin?
I mean, the first 4 lines, you mean?
Hanji, Hanji.
Okay.
Because,
I mean,
you know, I think, I'm sorry, I think we stuck with the first 4 lines because there was also a feeling that then the drift of the Pauri does actually take a turn towards Kavan Saruti Mao Kavan, which seems to suggest that Babaji is now moving towards a different sort of question. And if it is not, then we can talk about that. I mean, it seems to be another theme. It seems to be a creation theme that he is moving to, and it's quite apparent. At least that's the way we understood it, and I understand it. So we want to start with the first 4, where the theme seems to be a pilgrimage.
okay, so I would like to, connect this Pauri with the 6th one, where the approach was like Tirath Nama Je Pava Ven Pane Ke Nae Kare. In a sense, in 6th Pauri, it was quite a bit direct rejection of pilgrimages. But here in this Pauri, it is a little bit different approach. And that approach is that even if somebody wants to go, or somebody goes on for these pilgrimages, and plus, it's not just talking about Tirath, rather it is talking about some of the very prevalent ritual practices which were practiced in those times. So they are like Tirath, of course, pilgrimage, and then is Tap, which literally we can translate as penance, or some sort of physical exercises or the practices that people used to go through. And very interestingly, the another word comes here is Daya, which literally means compassion. So we need to look at that what this Daya means here, So Daya basically is not literally, I mean, not compassion here. This refers to the concept of non-violence, which was very much prevalent in Jainism and in some other faiths. And the next one is Dat Dan, donation, making donations. So this is also we need to look at, because giving to charity, making donations, and showing compassion are, you can say not something that Guruji will discourage us to do. They are something to do. I mean, they are seen as some virtues. But here, Daya refers to non-violence, and donation here again goes back to the tradition which prescribed that the donation can only be made to particular class. So to me, the Guru Sahib refers to those as simply as ritualistic practices, just for the sake of doing them. And he says, even if you do these, even if you undergo and you perform all these Tiratha Tapa, showing non-violence or practicing non-violence and giving in charity, so what? So he says, Je ko pave tel ka man. Man is, you can say, respect, recognition, and tel is sesame seed. That even if somebody gains some sort of respect or admiration through these activities or practices, it is going to be a very tiny bit of it. Now, in contrast, very beautifully Guru Sahib puts in, but if suneya, manneya, man kita pao, which can be related back to the 4th Pauri, which was saying gaviye, suniye, man rakhiye pao, and which were further in the suneya and manneya paudiya. And interestingly, Guru Sahib is not only asking us to listening and accepting, rather doing it with love, that is pao, with devotion. To me, it seems to be like maybe some people listen to it and they also accept it, but that may be through some sort of compulsion. So Guru Sahib is, suggesting that no, it should be through love. So he says, in contrast, and these verbs here are in past tense. We can say suneya, maneya, that those who have listened to it, listened to the Guru's teachings, and have accepted them, and rather have loved them from their heart. So what are they going to receive is very beautifully. The next line says, antargat tirath. Antargat is internal. Malanao. It is like that they have already bathed on the place of pilgrimage within the heart, मन विच अंदर ही समझ लो कि उन्होंने अंदरला जेड़ा तीरथ है ना, अंतर्गत तीरथ, उथे मल मल के ना लिया. In a sense, they have been purified, they have cleansed themselves. So to me, it's very beautifully putting, ritual practices and what Guru Sahib has throughout Japji had suggested as listening to the Guru's word, Guru's teachings, and accepting them, and taking them really into your practice, into your daily life through love and devotion.
Thank you, Diviji. You make some very interesting points. The one thing that stood out to me as you were explaining this was that as opposed to Pauri 6th, where the rejection is quite outright, here it seems to me that there is a suggestion that there is limited value, tilkaman, and that I find interesting, and I would like to actually have the panel dwell on this a little bit. What is this limited value, or if there is indeed some value to these outward practices? With that, I'm going to reach out to Harinder. Harinder, would you mind reflecting on this for us?
Sure. Actually, I'm gonna then go back and start with the first party, where the first line actually says that the physical cleansings are not what make you truthful, Satyar. And then we come to sixth one, then there is pretty much outright rejection of it. And in this one, it's basically saying it has limited value, which means temporary, transient value for worldly recognitions. Has nothing to do with being in loving devotion with the divine. So that's how I'm looking at it. Firstly, it is being said, really these physical cleansings are not really for people who want to be in the love with the divine. And sixth one, it's rejected. And here it's saying if you still have it in your behavior, yes, it will get you some worldly recognition, but that's about it.
Okay, thanks. So I want to further this question. So does it follow then that philanthropy, which is daan, and some of the activities that we today perform and in some ways consider to be valuable, are these to be then shunned, or should we continue to do these because they do provide some of the outcomes may be valuable, for example? So is that something? So Dilpreet, do you want to take that thread of thought and expound on that a little? So should we really be doing things like donations that we do today?
Right. So this is a very interesting discussion. The way I look at this is that we have a story related to Guru Nanak. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Right. So we have a story related with Guru Nanak that he took $20, 20 rupees that time, and he feeded the sadhus for 1 month or however long time, and then he came back. But when I read this another shlok from Guru Arjan Dev Ji, which I shared last time also, it says, Puja Varat Tilak Ishnana Pun Dan Bahodain Kaho na pije Sanjam Swami Bole Mithe Ben. So what we need to see is that what is these words are reused. These words were popular at that time, like Naam, Simran, Dan, and then Daya. All these were there, but we have to look at the meaning of these words from Guru Nanak's side. I feel that Guru Nanak was not supportive of that. You have to inquire first, you have to help somebody so that he can be on his own, so that he can support himself and be supportive to the society. I think that type of mentality was there when he uses the word dan. It is not that if somebody is beggar is there, you give him money and he goes and drinks something, he drinks alcohol at the night and again he begs in the morning. I don't think Guru Nanak considers those things as dan.
ठीक है जी, thank you. Gurdeep Singh Viji in Montreal, you've heard the discussion so far. I would ask that you pipe in if you have a thought on this.
Okay, ji, Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh ji. Since I missed a couple of weeks before, so I've joined today.
So you, yeah.
The whole idea of this is to become an introvert instead of becoming an extrovert. We were extrovert before. Jat Sanjam Tirth Onna Juga ka dharm hai, kal mein tirth har nama. This era of Kal-Yug is only benefit for us if we get in devotee to the naam or name, whatever it is. Other things were okay before in the other eras like Satyug, Dwapar, Treta. They were different main objects to worship. But now in Kal-Yug, we have to be introvert and get in tune with his name. And then when we will do after that, Tirth Bart Yar Dan Kar Man Me Tare Gaman, Ko Nanak Nefal Jata Jo Kunchar Ishnan. They are still acceptable, but you don't have to get egoistic conscious. You have to keep away the egoistic conscious. That is only possible when you will be in tune with the God through his name. These things are still acceptable, but without the name, they will be in vain. Pun dan jap tap jete sab upar naam. So more we go into Guru Granth Sahib, we read other part that make us more clarified here. They're not 100% discarded here. But they are okay if you are in tune with his God, with the name or not.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to reach out to Gurjeet Singh Ji in Australia. Do you want to elaborate on what has been said so far?
Hanji Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji ki Fateh. I would like to elaborate on Daya. In Asa Ki War, it's very clearly explained, Daya Jane Ji Ki. But here, the whole context being discussed is like Daya Jane Pind Ki. Gurbani aims at Daya Jane Ji Ki. And what's the problem of the Ji? Ji doesn't have enough knowledge. Ji nu Brahm Gyan di lod hai. Te jo Gyan da daan karda hai, that's our Gur. So the main stress is, je Tirath karna hai, uthe bhi Gyan prapti honi chahidi hai. Je Sikh ne tap karna hai, uthe bhi Gyan prapti honi chahidi hai. Te je Daya karni hai, uthe bhi Gyan prapti honi chahidi hai. And one of the most important thing jehdi apan miss kar rahe hain mere hisab naal, ਸੁਣਿਆ ਮੰਨਿਆ ਮਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਭਾਉ ਵਰਡ ਹੈ। ਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਛੱਡਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਇਸ ਪੌੜੀ ਵਿੱਚ। ਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਫੜਨਾ ਸੀ, ਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਫੜ ਕੇ ਇਹ ਭਾਉ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ ਸੀ। ਔਰ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਰ ਰਿਲੇਟ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਅੰਤਰਗਤ ਤੀਰਥ ਮਲ ਨਹਾਓ। ਮਲਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਦੋ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਚਾਹੀਦੀਆਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ, ਹੱਥ ਨੂੰ ਧੋਣਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਦੂਸਰਾ ਹੱਥ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ। ਅਸੀਂ ਦੂਸਰੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਮਿਸ ਕਰੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਮਨ ਨੇ ਨਿਰਮਲ ਹੋਣਾ ਹੈ, ਨਾਲ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੰਟਰੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਹੈ ਗਿਆਨ। ਉਹੀ ਪੌੜੀ ਦਾ ਕੰਟੈਕਸਟ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਇਟਸ ਟੋਟਲੀ ਰਿਲੇਟਡ ਟੂ ਗਿਆਨ ਐਂਡ ਅਦਰਸ ਹੈਵ ਰੀਅਲੀ ਐਕਸਪਲੇਨਡ ਵੈਰੀ ਨਾਈਸਲੀ ਕਿ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਦਾਨ, ਇਹ ਕਰੰਸੀ ਹੋਰ ਹੈ, ਮਾਇਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਦਾਨ, ਪੈਸੇ ਦਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਦਾਨ ਵਿਲ ਨਾਟ ਬੀ ਐਕਸੈਪਟੇਬਲ ਦੇਅਰ। ਸਿਰਫ ਗਿਆਨ ਐਕਸੈਪਟ ਲਿਆ ਮਨ ਨੇ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਔਰ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਵੰਡਿਆ, ਇਹ ਐਕਸੈਪਟੇਬਲ ਹੈ। I'll just add this much.
Thank you, Ji. Haji Gurdeep Singh Veer Ji, Amritsar. I think you're the last one that I know of on the panel. Let's give you an opportunity to chime in. I don't think he's on. I noticed that Eileen is on.
हाँ जी वीर जी
हाँ जी
म्यूट है सी
अच्छा जी
हाँ जी
हाँ जी हाँ जी
मैं सिर्फ I want to add a little bit only this that तीर्थ दया तप all these are virtues and Guru Nanak Sahib has really in the next lines of this body has spoken about virtues. Virtues without him, all virtues where I mean Home is involved, then they are rejected outright. I mean about Tirath, there are so many times it is told Tirath nata kya kare man mein mail guman तीर्थ वर्त सुच संयम नाही कर्म धर्म नहीं पूजा तीर्थ जाओ तो हो करते so long as then home is there in all the virtues they are not acceptable straightway and when these virtues are taken as gift of God जो के in this body Guruji has said that सब गुण तेरे मैं नहीं कोई when Guru Nanak Sahib himself traveled a lot and he went to the pilgrimage places of all religions but not for the sake of merely gaining benefit from visiting that Tirath but for spreading the name of God and the virtues of God.
हाँ जी ठीक है जी.
So that's what my point.
Anji, thank you. Eileen, I know you're on. Let's give you an opportunity here.
Okay, Haji. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I thought it was counterintuitive when I first read and thought about the activities of some charitable giving and sympathy and the idea that these were very small benefits till kamana, and then I thought a little bit further, and I was thinking about my son, bringing my son to do langar seva, and he treats it like a chore. Basically, it's we're doing the same activity, but for him it's just like taking out the trash or washing dishes or something. It's just something he has to do that it takes a long time, discussion and trying to get him to connect to the internal benefit of that activity, and I think that's really what I was reflecting on is just the difference between going through the motions and connecting internally to the process of trying to be a better person. So through those virtues. So that was what I took away.
Okay, thank you. Wonderful. So what I've picked up and what I want to play back to you folks is I'm hearing a few things. One is the notion of limited value of all these activities. The other is that if you're not connected or attuned to the divine inside of you, then all of these activities, no matter whether it's a pilgrimage or a donation or even they are of really no utility or value at all, because at the end of the day, you have to be infused with Nam. So what I want to ask you is, if that is true, then if you are infused with Nam, let's say you are connected or you are internally sort of centered with Nam, does it really matter what you do on the outside then? I mean, whatever activity that you might do, it doesn't really matter then, right? I mean, it seems to me what is working here is intent. It's the intent with which you are doing something, it seems to me, is what we are driving at. Haji Jaswant Singh Veerji, can you comment on that? I'm going to play this out to the panel in the second round.
I think to me, your question, what you're asking, is not so clear. Can you?
So what I'm asking is intent then the important thing in what you do? Is how you do a certain thing?
Yeah, of course, I think, yeah.
Is that what is being said here?
Yes, definitely, yeah.
Okay. All right. Tigaji, Harinder, do you have any take on that? I mean, my question also was, does it matter what we do?
Yeah, I do. You know, earlier I think when I was commenting in brief was more to the question you explicitly asked. But coming back to this, I think there are a couple of observations. First, I have joined the group after a while, but I'm noticing there is a lot of engendering of a concur going on. Maybe it's just a linguistic limitation, but I think we have to be watchful of that.
Can you explain that, please?
Yeah, like, the word him gets used quite a bit for God, I notice in discussion, which we have already established in very early on. It's a genderless divine or genderless a concur. Even the word God invokes very rigid ideas of Judeo-Christian heritage that's getting repeated. So I think it's a behavior thing. And the reason I'm mentioning this is that's what Pauri is talking about. When it's using those words, as I understand, it's in the cultural milieu when Guru Nanak is operating. And the Tirath and this idea of Dan and Daya has a very prescribed religious following. And that's what's being critiqued, not our contemporary understanding of what we might call philanthropy today. So I think within the context of the Shabad, Guru Nanak's critique is that these acts in the given traditions of, we'll say, larger Indian traditions, they are not the religiosities themselves. So when I look at it from that angle, what Guru Nanak Sahib is really saying is what matters is internal development, and these externalizations are directly proportional to your internal development. And as internal development, he's essentially saying it all comes down to power, which is love, and the prescription of love matters. So even when, for example, earlier ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਾਖੀ ਦੀ description ਆਈ ਸੀ ਨਾ $20 ਸਾਖੀ, it's not a $20 ਸਾਖੀ. I think we miss out. If you do a 4% inflation, which is a standard inflation in the world, that 20 rupees of 1470s of 2014 become roughly 300,000 US dollars. So that's a legacy project he's starting. It has nothing to do with Dan. He's not looking for a guaranteed spot in heaven. So I think we are missing out a little bit on the cultural milieu, all the religious practices at the time, and Guru Nanak's critique of them in the absence of feeling the divine presence.
Tikaji, thank you very much. I'm glad that you picked up on the use of the word philanthropy and the context in which it is used today, and I think that's a very, very valid point. We indeed need to take off our lenses, contemporary lenses, and try and understand the milieu, as Harinder is pointing out, in which Guru Nanak is operating. So thanks for pointing that out. And I think the other very significant thing that you're bringing out is the use of these expressions like him and God. I will tell you that these are such embedded habits of the mind that I did not even notice these once. So that just gives you an indication of how embedded we are with these habits. Obviously, you picked up on them. So thanks a lot. Thanks for those insights. Sanjit Dilpreet, do you want to comment on what Harinder has just said? I think he's made some really excellent points.
Right. See, that is where I was also going, that we have to understand the meaning of Dan, we have to understand the meaning of Naam, and we have to understand the meaning of Jap and Tap from Gurbani, because the way I look at this is that Guru Nanak redefined them. He was not saying that you do the same thing the way it is prescribed today, or what meaning is. We all see that, okay, what the meaning of Dan is that the meaning of Dan? I am putting that question out to the panel, that what is the meaning of Dan as per Guru Nanak?
Does somebody on the panel want to take that question?
Hanji, I can
Hanji,
take it.
Please, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, one of the lines which quickly comes to my mind is that it's not a transactional act as we see it today. For example, I think the line is Punna daan ka kare sarir. The whole existence needs to become a benevolence, not an act which you do to get a tax reduction or feel good or you might be thinking it's going to wash away your sins. So in Guru Nanak's idea, it becomes that your very existence, your behavior change needs to be such transformative that everything you do is an act of benevolence.
Thank you, Virendra. Does anybody else want to comment on this? Haji, Amirji, Gurdeep Singh ji.
Needy person, really. Then the daya comes from your mind. That's what is acceptable according to Guru Nanak philosophy. When somebody says a Panditji comes and they say you are sick for many days or many months, he says you do this thing, you give some gold, you give some, this wheat and flour and this and that. That's a different thing. That's what's condemned in Gurbani. But when the daya comes out of your mind to help somebody, you see somebody is dying on the street and there's nothing to eat, what would you do? You don't have to be religious that time, no matter what you are. If you have some kind-heartedness, you will definitely help him. So this is what I think those 20 rupees when Guru Nanak's story comes, that's come out of the daya from the heart of Guru Nanak. So instead of that spending money in the business, putting it in the business, they can get more. He spent on that. That's a perfect story to me. Anyway, this is how I feel it. Anyway, dhan is two different meanings. One is a necessity when somebody really needs it. One is when somebody asks for it. There's a punishment used to ask. That's a different thing. Thank you, Ji.
Thank you, Ji. I would like to move on. I think we spent enough time discussing the first 4 lines. We spent quite a bit of time the last session as well. But before I do that, I do want to ask the other panelists who haven't had a chance if they want to add one last thought on this idea. I know Gurjeet Singh Ji and Gurdeep Singh Ji haven't had a chance, and Eileen. Is there anything you wish to add, Gurjeet Singh Ji, Australia?
Yeah, means if you look within Japji Sahib, how we can justify the 20? First of all, the Rupaya was not there up till 10th Guru. Up to 10th Guru, there was the Taka currency. Rupee was not introduced up to the British times. So I don't know how that rupee got into. I recently went to a place where they were showing a history of bananas. They were saying apple can't be the true fruit. Banana should be the right because banana is coming from ages. So these things do happen when we just do some stories. But
we get the drift. We get the drift of the story. So, Anji.
Yeah. The main drift is Ketyan Duk Puk Sadmar. And Guru Nanak says, Epe dat teri datar. He accepts this as a dat. So if someone goes to Guru Nanak, he says, I'm hungry from 3 days, he will say, oh, that's a dat on you. If you read Japji Sahib like that. So the main topic will again come on what is real dhan, what is tap. It is only, as Prasa Kibar, we have to give Brahm Gyan. First of all, we have to do it ourselves. Pehle man prabodhe apna, pache avrajave. We have to accept the Gurbani ourselves, and then we have to really explain in that term that what is dhan, what is tap, and what is tirath as per Gurmat. I'll just say that much.
Thank you, Ji. Hanji, Gurdeep Singh Ji, Amritsar. Last thoughts? Mute te lagde ho. Okay, we may have lost him. I don't know. Eileen, are you there?
Yes.
Last thought on this?
Sure. I would just contribute that I think although there is certainly a very clear historical context that we're discussing. I mean, for me personally, this idea of thinking differently, and then a byproduct is acting differently. The way it's being expressed here is very powerful. I find this to be very helpful in my own life, as that's one of the most clear areas that I've been working on as far as thinking differently, and then thinking differently about compassion and charity and these types of activities. With my mind as an internal process as the driver. So I think it's just really relevant today.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to move the discussion forward a little to the next theme that's apparent, which is Kavan Suvela, unless anyone has any serious objections. And I'd like to reach out to Harinder. I'd like to reach out to you if you can sort of trigger off that discussion from Kavan Savela or Kavan.
Okay. So it's a fairly lengthy lines here, but I think the operative word obviously here is kavan and kavan, sorry, and Punjabi च बन जांदा केड़ा सी या केड़ा वेला सी जद वेला पाउने आ. So I think it's what it's really, Guru Sahib is raising a lot of rhetorical questions, you know, because a lot of the people, we are, you know, pursuing trivial things, you know, for example, finding out the exact time when the Earth, you know, the creation started, whether it's at the Big Bang or nebula theories, or whether it's Darwinism stuff, or whether it's some biological stuff, or physical laws, whatever they might be. And then, as I understand it, he's saying, you know, the religious personalities are trying to figure out exactly when that happened, and they debate about it. But are they really able to figure that out? Now, I don't think he's just referring to religious personality, but earlier, because religious personalities are the only ones who were discovering it. Today, this will bring in, you know, the scientific minds of the world as well, or people who are studying astronomies or particular biological sciences, Darwinism, all that will come in there. So I don't think it's particular to religious people. It's just those were considered the knowledge centers. That's why I think they're being mentioned, especially Pandit and the religious books like Puran and Quran, Qadi, who's an interpreter of the law, things of that nature. So essentially he's saying, you know, there is no philosophical end to these things. You can keep doing it. That's the first part, sort of, with the rhetorical questions. And then the second part essentially is saying, who really can describe the greatness, the vastness, and the infiniteness of the divine? Although people are trying to score points, ik du ik seana, you know, they might say, okay, I figured out, you know, the exact time or exactly the information the world is seeking, and they might be considered clever or wise or intellectual for a time being. But at the end of the day, there is no sort of conformal mapping, if I may call that, of what the divine is, what Ikonkar is. And he ends with the idea of only the Ikonkar knows exactly what really happened. So implication there is we need to be more, it's okay to have pieces of information, but they're not really to score the point that you have discovered the exactness. Really, if you, the thing to work towards is to have a great relationship again with the divine. So why I say that, because as Vadda Sahib Vaddi Nai Kita Jaka Hove, Nanak Jeko Apo Jana, Agya Gyana So Hai. And I want to relate this So Hai idea. You know, earlier lines we didn't focus on this, but there was a word, and which rarely comes in the, I think it was a fifth or the sixth line, I can't recall exactly, but I think it last sixth line. Sat Sohan Salam Chao. So Sohan is also ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ beautiful ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, you know, like the most beautiful things you will see. So it's essentially saying, if you're trying to understand the beautiful, if you're trying to relate to the beautiful, eventually be in love with the beautiful, there is not much to worry about the exactness, rather to be feeling the presence. That's what I'm getting out of it.
Thank you, Harinder, for that insight. Just one thing, Veerji, we haven't come out to you in a while.
Yeah.
Would you, Hanji?
Yeah, I think what Virji has just said, that makes a whole lot of sense. And I mean, that's what the Guru Sahib is explaining from Kavan Sovela Bhakt Kavan onwards. And the theme line goes, Ja karta sriti ko saje ape jane soi. And we can notice that throughout Japji Sahib, in the bodies that we have covered so far, and also the bodies to come. This is one of the things that the Guru Sahib always is going to talk about, like Kudrat Kaman Kaha Vichar. So he is of the view that you can never know the limits of the creator or creation. So here also he says, Ja karta sirthi ko saje, the creator himself, ape jane soi. He knows that how and when and what, all these kind of things. And further, of course, it goes on to say, Vadda Sahib Vaddi Nai, that he is the greatest, he is beyond and beyond, and so is his creation. And in the end, it's again a beautiful advice, Jeko Nanak Jeko Apo Jane. Apo Jane is to boost yourself, or to, like, claim that I am able to know this, or I can know that. Guru Sahib says, Agge gaya na so hai. That's not really going to make you, as BG has said, beautiful, or that cannot buy you any sort of honor or admiration or love in that sense.
Ji.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ji. I think some interesting thoughts, certainly very revealing. One of the things that struck me as Harinder was talking, and I want to put it out there, is the fact that ultimate reality is really doesn't lend itself to any sort of precise measuring. And then the notion of Sohan, beauty, something that is beautiful. You're talking about things that cannot be measured, but that can be felt. And I think that ties into that whole notion of Vismad that Guru Nanak talks about. So with that, I want to reach out to Gurdeep Singh Ji and Amritsar Ji. Would you like to add anything to this?
I think Gurdeep Singh Ji had to go, so he's left.
Acha ji, haan ji. Let me go out to Gurjeet Singh Ji then, out in Australia. Any thoughts?
We have missed, I'm just on the point that haven't we missed those 4 lines, Swastat Bani Barmao. We haven't discussed those. And then the context ultimately will come to what we are discussing now. Those 4 lines, Sabgun Tere Mein Nahi Go.
Hanji, no, we missed them quite deliberately, but I think we can go back to them if you want to. But I had asked the forum if it was okay for us to go to this particular theme, and since I did not hear anyone raise an objection, I just moved on. We can certainly go back to those 4 lines as well. There might be value in doing that. But that was
I can quickly give my thoughts.
Haji,
I've even written something.
You can go back to those lines. I mean, feel free to if you think they're relevant to this particular line of thought.
Okay, when we say about Sunaya Manaya Man Kita Pao, means we have to find Man ne kide nal pao kita. We are missing again. There are always a dialogue between 2 going on in Gurbani. Man ne pao kide nal kita. That's what the question is, and then it's easy to follow it. Antargat Tirth Mal now, Ude nale pao kita jide nal tirth hoya. And then Sabgun Tere Mein Nahi Koi Bhi Ohi hai jide nal pao kita si. Now the man is addressing ki main jide nal pao kita si, and I find, as per my experience, we always miss that point ki kide nal pao kita te Sabgun Tere Mein Nahi Koi kaun si te gun kine lene si. Bin gun kite bhagti na hoye, jo man di bhagti si oh kitthon gun prapt ho rahe si. And Swastat Bani Barmao is, I think, one of the most challenging lines which we need to discuss in the context.
Haji, do you want to proceed with that? By all means.
I mean, yeah, I can proceed as per my
sure.
Because this I have even written on the blog. Swast word has, as per my understanding, is coming from the word ast, as prasanna, suprasanna, ast, swast, Jog, Sanjog. These are the words which take you to the extreme end of positive energy. Swast kida hona si, jeda ast hoya si, ast dwale da swast.
Can you stick to English, please? Because I think there are people who don't understand Punjabi.
Okay. Swast means the man which was born. Man was born when we were born here. The man didn't go because it says Aage Ham Sakela. It means the man's whole area is when we are living. So the man has to die. Man mare tat mar jaye, bin man mare kaise har paye. This is also referring to the same thing. Ki when the man has to die out, it has to die out through Bani Brahmao. And Bani Brahmao is coming from Sachkhand through Satguru. That's the only way the man can do a bhakti as per Gurmat, because the Gyan it is getting is purely from Satguru, not in any other way. So that should mean कि जो स्वस्थ, the way the mind has to merge in its mool, in its conscious, is through Bani Brahmao, which is Gurbani. And then the final stage is Sat Suhan Sada Manchao. Then it attains that Sat is written with a Sihari here. It's a special purpose. That it attains that ultimate value which it had before it came to Pavsagar.
Hanji, Tika ji, thank you. I do apologize for skipping those lines, but please stop me because I, in my limited sort of understanding, am just moving things along. Nobody said to me, "Nahi jana aage," and I moved on. So please stop me if you think that I'm moving too fast or too slow. So now let's go back to those 4 lines, Satswan, Sadam, and Chao. Just one thing, Viji, do you want to take that on? As sort of.
Yes. To me, it is like, how do we connect them? So it is like, in the beginning it was saying Tirath Tapdaya Datdan, Jeko Pavetil Kama. It's not going to be of much benefit to you. And in contrast, then the next lines were saying Suneya Maneya Man Kita Pao. That if you have loved, if you have listened to those teachings, and if you have accepted those teachings, and this is then is going to make you, internalize the divine and purify yourself, your mind and your heart. Antargat Tirthamal now. And it is like now, in the first 2 lines, that when you are at that phase of life, just into ritualistic practices, so you are doing it for the sake of display, showing off, and that brings a lot of arrogance and so on. But here, once you happen to practice this Antargat Tirthamal now, then comes a sort of internal realization, and that brings in humility. And then you try to see, and then you are able to see rather, Sab gun tere main nahi koi. So this is addressed to Vaheguru, that ultimately you realize that, oh Vaheguru, all the virtues, all the efforts, and all the things that I have been able to perform, are through your grace. All the virtues are given by you. And next one, rather, when gun kite pagat na hoy, that without your grace, without bestowing these gifts and these virtues to me, I won't even be able to perform or attain your love or your bhakti.
Thank you, Ji.
Yeah. So these are just the 2 lines. Yeah.
Can
I go further?
Hanji, please. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the next line, as Paji Gurdeep has also said, is the most one of the challenging line, because we find different versions of meaning given there because of the words swastha, artha, barmao. These 3-4 words are very rarely, seldom used in the Gurbani. So Professor Sahib Singh has given a very different meaning, and to me that's not so convincing. To me it looks like swast comes from Sanskrit root, which means blissful. So these 2 lines are now not just addressed to Vaheguru, they are rather defining, or maybe you can say in appreciation of Vaheguru. So it says, oh Vaheguru, you are swast art, and art again comes from Sanskrit root asti. Asti is hai, that you are, and swast is blissful. So you are blissful, and Bani, your revelation is Barmao, is like divine. Brahm Roop jinu ande. Ke, oh Vaheguru, you are Kalyan Sarup, you are very blissful, and your speech, your revelation to me is also very divine. And further it goes, Sat, you are eternal, Sohan, you are beautiful, and you are Sada Man Chao, there is always Chao. there is always joy, there is always delight, in your mind. So this goes back to the traditional thought, Sat Chit Anand.
Hanji.
Vaheguru has these three beautiful qualities in him, that he is true, that is eternal, he is beautiful, and he is full of delight, he is full of bliss.
Ji. Thank you, Virji. Harinder, I know you brought up the word Suhan, and I know that, I mean, in my limited understanding, that there is some difference of interpretation for the word swast and what it means here in this context. Various interpreters have different sort of, as someone alluded to that. Do you want to continue your thought on this and help us connect with the previous lines?
Well, I can attempt. As mentioned, there are definitely varieties here of interpretation. And I think the one which I am most comfortable with so far in my life is, Swast and Ath and Bani. Bani part is not as debatable, Barmao. These three words actually are, they're going to take us to task. So let me just go to it. Thodi ji na the etymology di gal hui hai, so I want to talk about that as well. Usually when the Brahman would take a donation or daan, that's when he used to say swast. Brahman daan leke swast aakhde hunde si. So I've heard this even in my childhood, some variations of that when I've seen it in the larger, what we now call Hindu culture. And the three people who later in the Pauri are being talked about, so Qazi obviously doesn't do that, but they did talk about what Brahman does and what Yogi does, and you see that in some of the Yogi cultures even today. So usually this word, in its original idea, we'll call it, or etymological spaces, was used when you taken a donation and you would say this back. Now that's not the usage here, but that's the context with the previous lines. And same with Barmao. Barmao is a Brahman, and Ath part is fine. Ath actually some people say is the one who is asking for it. Lord one, the one who needs help or needs money or wealth or whatever, or the things. So that's the little bit of the background. The part which makes sense to me is that if you look into the previous four lines, obviously Guru Nanak Sahib is not saying that the Brahman is saying this, or what he's saying is, the way I look at all this, that which daan do I want now? Because it's na vind gun kite bhagat na hoye. So first he said what people are saying, and then he says, well, none of this is going to work for me. What do I need? He says, so I am looking at you the divine, the real Brahman, and I am the one who wants these gifts. And what are the gifts? His gifts are more statements, that you are Sat, you are Sohan, and you are always in Anand, in Chao. That's my understanding.
Thank you. Appreciate that connection and the thought. Dilpreet, do you want to? We are running out of time. We have 5 minutes, but very interesting discussion. Dilpreet Singh, do you want to provide some thoughts on this? Your take?
No, I am good, Ji. I think everything has been said.
Hanji. Gurdeep Singh Virji in Amritsar, is he back with us or not? I don't think he is. I've missed you, Gurdeep Singh Ji, out in Montreal.
Okay, Ji. Very much convincing. Those two members who spoke very well. It's very much clear. I can only say from Gurbani, Bilihari kut vasya, tirantna jai lakhya. Another way, Guru Gobind Singh said, Aap apni buddha jeti, barn pin pin to teti, tumra lakhana jai pasara, kya bid saja, pratham sansara. This is the end of it. This is what I clear. Everybody spoke very well.
Thank you very much. Eileen, one last, do you have any comment on this before we make the last round?
Or after that, I would like to make it.
So, can you hold off? Let's give Eileen a chance, and then I'll come to you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. I think on one level, I'm having I'm very educated, and I appreciate the historical context to understand here. But I also really take a lot for my own personal process around the idea of the state of mind to create this virtuous state of mind, as opposed to a state of mind that's looking for proof, like the pundits and the people writing the Quran and so forth, or the people seeking charity and alms. I mean, I think this is very, very relevant to my own process of mind in terms of, am I looking for proof all the time? Am I looking for these external validations of what I'm thinking or reason? Or alternatively, am I just focused on the state of mind that comes from Nam and then the connection to the Creator? And so I'm just very focused on that piece of the process in my interpretation here.
Okay, thank you. Anji, Vigji, Jaswant Singh ji.
Yes, I just wanted to add that what Virji Harinder has said, that has made a lot of sense to me, and it has rather clarified further that what he's saying, that of course the swast word has been used by the Brahmin after accepting donations. So to me it is like, that clarifies it further, that Guru Sahib here is saying rather that in place of seeking those words from a person, from a Brahmin, he's saying that Vaheguru himself, or Vaheguru itself, is swast, right? So he is the one who is blissful, and it's his Bani which is Brahma, which is divine, and it's he who is Sat, Sohan, and Sadaman Chao. So in a sense, that in place of looking for those words or those blessings from a person that you have made donations, he says the Vaheguru is the one who is swast At, and whose Bani is Brahma, and who is Sat, Sohan, and Sadaman Chao. Yep.
Indeed, Anji. Thank you very much. I think we are running out of time. I do want to thank everyone for a wonderful discussion. It's been very, very enlightening as always. We still have some work to do on the 21st Pauri, and unless somebody has any last thoughts, I would like to offer you Guru Fateh. Does anyone have anything to say?
I want to just add one thing.
Anji.
That there is no doubt about the meaning of the At in Gurbani. At means khajana. ਜਦੋਂ ਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਸਵਸਥ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਖਜ਼ਾਨਾ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ? Where do we get that knowledge to get that mind subdued? The only khajana is Bani Brahmao. The Bani, Gurbani is Bani Brahmao because it's been spoken by Brahm. So we are not clear about the word. We don't use the word Brahm that much. That's why we always think Brahm is Brahman word come from Brahm. That's why Brahm Gyani Aparmeshwar. The word is Brahm. The whole Gurbani is Brahmao, Bani Brahmao, and this is the treasure which will bring the mind to that stage of Sat Suhan Sadaman Chao.
Thank you, Ji. Anybody else who wants to say something? We have maybe less than a minute to go. Again, thank you all for joining and for a wonderful discussion. Indeed, very helpful. I think it's moving us all along on this path. And with that, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Fateh.